Hey guys, this is Rainwolf, and we are sorry about the delay with the holidays and a number of other matters coming up. We weren't able to record on time, but I hope everybody enjoys the review when it does come out. And this is episode 8 of 86.
Hey guys, Kirido Silverheart here.
And Austin the Silverheart.
And this is Lyria.
So the first words we hear from the episode was that Kana's group. And you see Werewolf and you see Shin walking with the pieces in his hand of the units that he will carve their names into. Werewolf gives him a very stern look and it's like, it was not your fault. And then it flashes over to everybody. Everybody's pretty much in their dreary sadness in thought moments after returning to base from the situation they had just dealt with and losing another good number of unit or friends just in not even too long ago from losing Black Dog and a couple others. Then they go back to Werewolf and Shin, and he brings up the moment of the enemy commander. I found him. Werewolf jumps up and he's like, "You found him?" Shin is grabbing at his collar where the scar is at, or his handkerchief that covers the scar around his neck. Werewolf just the expressions that Werewolf gives during this conversation and then what we see from Shin will follow you to the end, Reaper.
That was beyond bone chilling. That image.
Yeah, from all we've had these little tiny smirks of him from time to time. We've had little smiles, we've had little laughters, and then just the way they shaded this, and then the whole way the conversation was going, and just that evil, conniving look.
Part of me wonders if this goes back to, obviously everybody knows that this is a Suicide Squad anyway, like we've already talked about, but it makes me wonder if the other reason why they are just so adamant about following this through to the end and supporting Shin and confronting this shepherd model that it now encases his brother's essence and brain is because, like they were talking about an episode or two ago, of he has made it his goal to make sure that his fallen comrades aren't forgotten, that they're given a proper send-off in some form or fashion, and they know that he'll never rest as long as his brother's soul is still out there.
Yeah.
What's your comment?
What? What's your comment?
I can't comment because I know the answer to that. So I'm just not going to comment.
Yeah, it's just seeing the look of everybody, knowing that, as you said, it's a suicide mission, but also Suicide Squad at that. Then we get through the opening, and it's Lena at a desk with a number of reports open in front of her. And what she was told the night before, or even if it's the same night at that, of that they are a Suicide Squad. Anyone that has been sent to Spearhead has been sent to missions that to the point where it just wipes out the whole unit. The frustration she has in this moment as she's sitting there.
Yeah, as she's going through this documentation, we see flashes of close-ups of the documents, and it's Spearhead Revision 1, Spearhead Revision 7, Spearhead Revision 13. It's like, just how many Spearhead squads have there been? We obviously know that this isn't the first unit.
No.
But, God, how many have there been?
So now it pops up that she's at Net's doorway. She pretty much has knocked on the door, and Net has answered. They walk in, and she's talking to Annette about what she has read, what she was been told. And it's like, we need to do something. Do what specifically is what Annette. It's like, go on TV, report all this, make a speech. If that would change her mind, then things like this would never be like this in the first place. And then this is where I think throughout this, where Annette is kind of going at Lena through this, we kind of get her true nature, how she really feels on everything.
Annette is very, she knows it's wrong, but she's also extremely self-preserving and wants to pretty much protect herself. Is the vibe I got from the book and the show.
Yeah, and I agree with that completely. We get this moment where Lena's essentially just, begging her, and then she just explodes on her. And she says, "You need to stop pretending to be a bad person just to have an excuse to do nothing." And this is the moment when Annette completely flips the script on Lena.
Mm-hmm. And you see a number of her emotions go across her face, but also it just tells you that, as Lyria said, she doesn't like what's happening, but she's also trying to protect herself.
Yeah. And this moment is actually something that Leary and I both had come across in the light novels and in like some of our independent research outside the show itself. This is one of the scenes that we've been waiting for to come up.
Yes.
Because you learn quite a big backstory about Annette, also on when 86 really started to become a thing into the transition of processor.
Yeah, so far, throughout the storyline, we've basically kind of just been given this idea that, we had this war breakout with these automated machines and our casualties were high. People didn't like that, so they started just snatching up those that they considered to be less than, the ideal person or the ideal race or color or creed or whatever, and throwing them into the machines and classifying them as processors. And it actually goes a lot further beyond that.
It's after she explains that the neighbors, she gets up, she goes towards the window and points to the empty house next to her. That the house used to be the neighbors. They used to be 86. There was two brothers, one way older and one younger, as pretty much her age at the time. When the same school, they played together.
That family was super, like, they knew a lot about artificial intelligence, and that's what they were researching on. I don't know if I don't remember if the show mentioned that, but that's what it mentions in the light novel.
The show doesn't, but yeah.
Okay, yes.
The show mentions that they did have, that they had some type of powers, that the mother and the two sons had powers to kind of communicate with each other.
In the light novel, it mentions that they worked with them because they did a lot of research on artificial intelligence and things like that, of that nature.
That's kind of.
And at first, it's like when she brings up all this, one way older and one younger around her age, and then when it caps over to the open window and the boy walking up, but with her saying this, like, is this Shin and his brother? Even with the little image of him, the boy that we see in the window, it doesn't really look like Shin either. So it's like,
no, I'm sorry. I think it looks exactly like Shin as we've seen him as a kid. It looks exactly like Shin.
It's an anime, so we know where
it's
going. Also, completely random, just before we keep going, just because I would like to mention this. The cookies in the light novel and on the show are different. And that I just would like to make that observation about the cookies. Because in the book, it
what
says
kind were they in the book?
They were weird-looking cookies that were half pink and half purple.
Oh, interesting.
So I just wanted to mention that because I was kind of excited for the pink and purple cookies.
This makes me want to go back for when we do our post show to see if all of the snacks actually lined up.
Yes.
Properly.
If we could get together and do a post show, I could make us some pink and purple cookies.
Oh, that'd be epic.
Oh, we should. I can do this. Yes.
Ooh, yeah, we'll see how this goes. So as she's finishing up her explaining of her neighbors and everything, like,
Annette explains to Lena that when everything came down and the order was given for the 86 to be moved to the 86th district, to the camps and everything, she started being bullied by other kids at school for being friends with the quote-unquote colored, which is what they considered the 86, because they all had different colored hair than everybody else and different colored eyes and everybody else and everything. So they were considered quote-unquote filthy colored.
Also in the light novel, they call them colorata is the term they use in the light novel.
Yeah, I did see that also. That was the racial distinction.
Yeah.
But yeah, she explains that she was being bullied for being friends with one. And her father didn't like what was going on, didn't agree with the government.
No, because he even tries to, when they came to the house, he wants to protect them, but he looks to Annette as of like, she puts in the words of,
he wanted her approval and she gave him a way out, because there's one day that the little boy, who we pretty much know as Shin, comes up and he doesn't know what's going on. He's an innocent little kid, doesn't know what's going on with this whole 86 hatred, and he wants to play with her. And she gets so upset and she's so bothered and tortured by the way she's being bullied at school that she just yells at him that you're nothing but a filthy colored, shuts the window on him and walks away. And and breaks up an entire friendship.
And then in the light novel, it mentions that he's not sad by it, but he's just completely confused because he does not know what's going on. He's just
Going on.
completely baffled why she would come and do this and talk to him like this because they've been friends.
Yeah. After the whole of explaining this, the look that Annette gets on her face, it's just like the smile, the eyes, it's just
This is the kind of look that we've seen on deranged psychotic serial killer
like
level
Poe
characters.
from
Yes. Or even Rapey McDouchebag from
yes.
the
Oh,
Alpine
yeah.
arc of SAO.
Oh.
You know, all she had to do was just push her glasses up like he did.
This bothers me. This is the only part that where I there was a moment where she went mad scientist
Right
for a
here. And
minute,
that's pretty much
and
this moment.
yeah, and I don't know if it fit her character. I don't know if it was a psychotic break, which I'm thinking it was, or or if it's trying to allude that she's always been kind of an evil asshole. I don't think Annette's evil. I think she's self-preservating, but she's also very tormented by what she's had to do and the choices that she's had to make. And then her father experimented
Yeah.
on the 86. That's how they got the technology, and he was so tormented he committed suicide.
I think she's really torn because she wants to do the right thing, but she has chosen down the path that she's chosen.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
she seems to have that mindset of I've already, effed up once,
And she
it
doesn't
costs
even see a way to help them. She doesn't see
right.
anything.
But at the same time, I think the reason why we get the image of her having this like mental break is because this is probably the first time that she's let this out.
Yeah, she's opening up.
Yeah, I mean, this is when everything just comes pouring out of her, and to Lena of all people.
Mhm.
Had Annette not said what she said at the end of this, conversation, I think Lena would have said it.
Yeah. Then after this whole evil canal look that Annette gives, he goes into a room and we learn into detail that there were experiments, the games that would be played to test these abilities that the mother and children had with each other and to perfect what we now know as the Pararade.
hmm So when they walk in, Annette starts explaining this whole thing, and she flat out says the two boys that live next door and their mother had this special ability, this special power, and where they could basically speak to each other without speaking. They could sense each other's feelings. It's like a super heightened empathy, borderlining on telepathy.
And we even get the words from Annette that we couldn't use animals, so we had to use humans to test this.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's pretty much
So
what drove her father to suicide.
yeah. So her dad, found this intriguing. So he would do like, fun little experimental games with the kids. And they would put them in two separate rooms and make them wear like noise canceling headphones and stuff. And, make them do like these psychic tests about, if the kids can figure out what the mom's thinking from a completely different room or, what have you. And then the military finds out. And they're like, well, they're not human anyway, so
Yep. And it also brings up that with all this conversation with Annette, as she's going along, it's like because with the handlers that have been driven insane and stuff of the sort, she was like, "Oh, I was hoping to get my hands on the person that was causing it, but now with the influence that you've caused, is now he's just going to go out and die. I was possibly going to be able to save him."
okay, so I took that statement a little bit differently. So she says, Undertaker, was it? We got the request to investigate because of the dead handlers. If I had them bring the processor that was the cause, I might have been able to save him if nobody else. But then she says, but that's just hypocrisy. I'm glad, and this is her exact words, I'm glad those shitheads in transport refused. We already know from a few episodes ago that Annette flat out said the minute Undertaker dies, they bring him in, they chop open his head, they examine his brain, and they throw it in the trash.
Oh, there's another line too. After all this whole, you interfered and kept them alive. Now they're being ordered to die.
Yeah.
And she was just like, if you just slacked off, they would probably still be alive. Then she screams at her, and Annette even says, "I hate you, Lena." Then Lena leaves.
Yeah, she tells her she doesn't want to see her again.
In the novel, she throws one of the coffee cups because the coffee cups are pretty significant. They'd like bought them together, and it was like the first coffee pot or coffee cups they drank coffee in. And Annette like throws hers and breaks hers and does the whole "I hate you, I never want to speak," or let me never see you again. Is what she says.
And as she's at the crosswalk about the cross, she's just standing there with her head down, and then she's hearing the words like, "I'm not gonna let you die. I'm not gonna let anyone die again." It, just her in her head with those words going through, and then we see her. And then she's in her, I guess, cubby, if you want to call it that, or her station,
Mm-hmm.
and she sees the report that's to become, and she finds her uncle. He's in the church. I would guess this is what this is.
It's some sort of altar.
Yeah.
It looks like it could be in a cathedral, or it looks like it could be like a
Monument type deal.
like a
memorial.
memorial room or something. Even if it's in the grand headquarters or whatever. But this is where I finally put two and two together of exactly where San Magnolia got its name, and also who the mural was about at the 86 camp, the Spearhead camp, if you stop and think about it. Because if you look at the statue, it's a female Alda with the sword. It's the same figure, same sword, and everything as the mural that we've been talking about since episode 1 at the Spearhead camp. And the interesting thing that we find out about San Magnolia,
so she's pretty much screaming at him to cancel the report, and it's like, we can't do that. It's just a whole pretty much yelling match between her and her uncle, and it's like, I can't keep that. Like, you forbid them from recovering or burying their dead. They're all dead. They will cease to have existed. Pretty much, we find out that they want the 86 wiped out completely, so that in their history or whatnot,
there is no proof of a war crime. This is genocide on a massive level. Because you got to think that the 86, they're not just one race technically.
No.
They're referred to in the light novel as the Colorado.
Pretty much everything but Alba.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is Hitler's whole new world order, just in anime form. That's exactly what this is.
Yeah.
And we get to see the darkest level of it.
Yeah. And I mentioned this before. This is what I thought they were doing. I was pretty convinced this is what they were doing.
Yeah, I think that's what a lot of us felt.
It's like he even takes it to the next step that, he was like, well, we want them gone so they won't tell. Because there's this quote that, history is told by the victors, and it's how the person who's left standing perceives it. And that's what they're doing. And they're like, if they're not there to tell the tale, no one knows what we've done to them. And it's chilling. It's really chilling.
It is. And the words that come from Lena in this whole conversation before her uncle decides, it's like, you're just saying that to justify your despair. It's like, it's wrong to sit back and let this happen. Free to speak of your hopes and ideals. It's like, you can't persuade anyone. That's why you came to me, right? Then you just see the look in Lena's face from these words from her uncle. It's like, it's rough.
Yeah, and that line that Jerome gives about despair and hope being two sides of the same coin.
I thought of you immediately when he said that.
Oh my god, that hits so hard. I mean, if you stop and think about it, he's not essentially wrong.
He's not, no.
Because it's just it's the pessimist versus the optimist. It's how you look at the duality of a situation. And yeah, that line struck with me. I'm like, I need a printout of this scene. I'm just, oh my god.
This quote somewhere, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, this is gonna be a mural somewhere in my room or something. But the thing that really struck this whole conversation home for me, aside from hope and despair, was when Lena starts going on and on about the Republic of San Magnolia. It has these ideals and expectations and foundations that we are supposed to live by. The Republican ideals that San Magnolia expounded should protect the 86 as well.
Yeah.
And her uncle stops mid stride, looks at her, and says, "This is a country full of fools and villains who executed Saint Magnolia for the sake of their own wealth and greed. What do you expect of them?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, holy crap.
And that
He
explains a
gets it.
lot
Yeah,
of
he
what's going
knows.
on and what the way he reacts. He knows the deeper parts.
Yeah, it's not just Annette that sees this thing. Jerome sees it too. Everybody sees it. Now, there are those that have been processed and dealt with it in the fact of, oh, I'm just doing what I'm told, or this is just how it is. Nothing's going to change.
Or the ones that have helped raise certain ones, like the priest for Shin and his brother.
Right. There are those who know the history, who know the truth, and know that it's bullshit. And there are those who know the history, know the truth, and they're like, well, the hell am I supposed to do about it?
Let's just
Been
tag
like this
along
since
for the
day
ride.
one. It's been like this since day one.
And after all this conversation, now it transfers over to Lena in her room. And she's going at them and telling them there's no need to obey these ridiculous orders. You can run away. To where is one of the. I'm not sure. I can't remember who said that at the moment.
That sounded like werewolf to me.
I thought it was Shin.
It could have been.
It's like, why do you just always accept? You're always losing your future, even your life.
Oh no, actually, you are right. You are right. It is Shin. I'm sorry,
Shin.
because she is talking directly to Captain Nosen.
And she is just there. And some of these words that she's saying to him, she's just hitting her head, and then she takes her hand in her head and she's looking down in her desk. It's like, then Shin's like, Major, we're finally following the path we wanted to follow, the place where we wanted to go. We can finally be free. And he tells her that once we pretty much defeat the shepherd, this area will be safe for a while until a new shepherd is put in play.
It causes everything to go into chaos.
Yeah.
So it kind of causes the machines to kind of get disorganized and confused.
Because there's no one controlling them or commanding them.
Not
Yeah,
not in that area. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like if you think about a countrywide network,
Or kobolds for that reason.
Or yeah, I mean, yeah, that
Kobolds
works
and
too.
or even goblins if you go off the goblin slayer, or just kobolds in general, because kobolds, they are pretty stupid, but when it comes to they have a leader, they'll react to the leader, but as soon as the leader's dead, they scatter. They don't want nothing to deal with whatever's going on.
Yeah.
And then he also tells her there's no need to monitor us anymore. She jumps out of her seat, knocks it. It's like, you don't want to hear my brother's word, so please don't contact us again.
And he hangs up on her. That was the thing. He hung up on her, and I'm like, damn. I'm like, you're like, this is when we see that cold side of Shin that he has to put out, that he's been bred through.
I think this is one of those moments that was probably because you've seen it a little bit here and there throughout the series, and definitely with the conversation, you kind of really notice it in the conversation when she's in the hall when they were talking about when she tripped over after bribing the
supply officer.
Yeah, that they have grown close. I'm not gonna say there's a relationship or anything, but from Lena's side, obviously, she thinks that she's gotten to that point where there's a possibly more. But from Shin, there's no clear from him. But there's actually a friendship there for him. And this was probably fairly hard for him because as you see how the way he treats his friends. Mm-hmm. Anyone that he sees friends and he has to really step on, it's hard against him.
But at the same time, like I said, this is what he's been bred into for years. So this is his only way of protecting her.
Yeah. Because scrolling through, because as we were talking, I still had the episode going. The last words that he says is survive till then. Yeah.
Because he tells her, go east. When we take out the shepherd, it'll cause a disruption in the Legion's network, and then they'll be scrambling, like Austin had mentioned. The least we can do is buy you some time. So obviously that right then and there says
he's telling her to leave.
Yeah, Lena's fed up with the Republic's BS. Shin knows it. He knows there's nothing that he can do other than give her a window of opportunity.
Very much so. And as he says the words survive till then, it zooms right into Lena's face, a tear drops, and title card. And from what I said last week, really pretty much drops right on the nail right there.
Yeah. So off air, we were having a discussion about the title for this episode being "Let's Go," and Wolf had mentioned, "I think this is the moment when Shin lets go of Lena and forces Lena to let go of 86."
Pretty much let us go.
Yeah, and I could see that, but at the same time, given the grammatical structure of LET''S''GO, I'm thinking more of a rally call on Shin's behalf,
Yeah.
saying, "Let's go and kick this thing's ass.
Yeah.
Let's go do
I
what
can-
we were gonna do."
I can see that. So after the title card, now it has us in the hangar. They're pretty much stocking up extra supplies and legs for a certain somebody.
Okay, so as somber and dark as this series gets, these bits of levity, primarily in the interpersonal relationships and the interactions between the characters, are just amplified to a degree of hilarity that it's subtle, but it's overwhelming in the hilarity.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because it just lightens up the mood from all the heaviness.
Yeah, I mean, we just had essentially what would be in a romantic story, the breakup scene
Yeah.
with the male and the female leads. And now we've got another character coming in, saying, "Hey, don't die, even though I know you're going to. Don't do the same crazy crap that you always do." And he's like, "I can't promise that." He's like, "Would you just lie about it for once?"
Yeah, because
He's
the
like,
words
"This is
that
the
come,
last time we're going to see each other. Just freaking lie to me."
yeah, because
Like
he even
you
says like,
care.
"Don't fight like you normally do." It's like the words right after, "I can't promise."
I
Like,
promise
flat.
nothing. I promise nothing.
Yeah, and as Kirito said, he's like, "Lie, jeez."
I know. I was thinking that too. I was like, that poor old guy. Like that. Just lie to the poor old guy. He's
I got flashbacks to when I first started tanking in Final Fantasy XIV, and you were still running Black Mage primarily.
Oh
And I'm
god.
just like, "Don't pull everything. Let me grab the aggro." You're like, "I can't promise that." And I'm like, "Damn it."
Not wrong.
To happen is gonna happen.
Yep.
Pretty much.
everything's eventual, I guess.
It is inevitable.
And
Yeah.
with how old
I'm
pretty
gonna
much,
miss the cat.
yeah.
Has anybody else missed the cat already?
Is
Love
it
the
bad that
cat.
I almost thought that Anju was going to put the cat in the mech with her?
I
couldn't
did
s-
too. I did too. And I was like, is she gonna bring that cat with her? And I was like, no, she loves that cat too much because she thinks she's gonna die. She's not gonna.
Yeah, she's not going to let a poor innocent little animal like that get in the crossfire.
I don't have good feelings about anything though. I'm gonna put this out there.
I
I
don't think
don't
any of us do.
I feel like this is gonna sideswipe us. I don't think anyone's safe. I don't even think the little old guy's safe. I don't think the cat's safe. in that
Well,
episode.
for the mechanic, the thing is, with how old he is, I have a feeling he's dealt with a number of spearhead units.
There's a reason he's the lead mechanic for that
Yeah.
site. And he knows. Like, he even calls it out. He was like, "This is going to be the last time. Just, lie to me." He knows. He's been through this. This is just another freaking day for him.
Yeah.
Squad,
But it's hard on him as
733.
well. Yeah. It's
Yeah, because he's pretty like he lectures them and goes on and stuff, but like
he tries to be fatherly, but also he tries to keep their units to par so they can survive and and probably deep down he's hoping that throughout all the fighting, if they do survive, that this is all over and everybody
But
can
let's not
coexist.
also forget the reason he treats them like kids is because every time there's another unit, they're younger and younger.
Mhm.
And Shin called that out, episodes ago.
Yeah.
He was like, "You've killed all the adults. Now you've got the children fighting for you."
yeah.
This guy has seen the age digression of all of these units. This squad alone, they're like, what, 15, 16?
Yeah.
The oldest might be 17.
Yeah.
So in his eyes, yeah, he's the father figure. He's the
Mhm.
one making sure that everything stays together the best it can because he knows they're not going to get resupplies. They're not going to get repairs. They're not going to get replacements.
No. And as I said, more than likely he wants a peaceful world, and that's what. And with being the type of mechanic, and also with what he's probably gone through over the number of decades
Mm-hmm.
of being there, seeing death after death, but being able to keep that hope running from what he's seeing, definitely with seeing younger and younger people dying. That
Yeah, this is when we start to see the hope through the despair.
the thing is, I'm surprised for that mechanic. You don't see him with a bottle of Jack or something, or sake in this case, on a daily basis, but he somehow works through it. But after their conversation with the mechanic with Shin, now it's transitioning there over to each of the emblems on each of the units and how faded they are and how degraded everything looks. Even their units themselves, even with the repairs that have been done to them.
Yeah, and what's even more heartbreaking is the episode last episode when they got the supply shipment of fireworks from Lena.
Yeah, you saw the new
You know,
units.
we saw the new mechs, we saw the
I
restocks
would
and
have
all
said
that stuff.
fuck it and take those units.
How could you not? How could you
Right?
not?
I'm like,
I'm
fuck
sorry,
you.
but if you're Shin,
I'm
in
sorry. This is going to be
moment-
one of those moments of Cartman. Screw you guys. I'm going home.
Yeah, exactly. The only way I could see it is if maybe the Juggernauts were, I guess, coded or linked to the processor
Yeah, I could see that.
or something like that. I don't know. But,
They'd find a way.
or if it's just a fact of a familiarity with the unit that you've piloted for however long.
Yeah, that's also another big possibility as well. So it drops over. He has a name plate he's carved in. He's putting everyone that has passed away recently into his box that he stores in his unit.
Yeah, this one was Haruto.
Well, there was a couple, but that was the one they showed.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The one that they focused on was Haruto. I love the banter that they have in this moment when they were just like, poor Haruto. It's like, had he still been around for this part of it?
And then also, it's like, hopefully the rain stops, at least for the first day. I know a trick. Kaya used to do it. Hey, kids, come here. From what you hear from the mechanic.
Mm-hmm.
Calls them over. He takes off his sunglasses, and they all just have their own little expressions. It's like, I'm going to miss the old guy lectures.
Yeah. And I think that was Raiden that said that. It was either Raiden or Theo.
I think it was Raiden.
Actually, no. Yeah, I'm thinking it was Raiden that said it. But he's like, now that it's the last time I've realized I'm going to miss the old guy's lectures. And everybody just starts laughing.
And you see them, and as she said earlier, Asuna said about the cat.
With Anju.
She's holding it. Then you got cleaning. Then you see Laughing Fox repainting everybody's logos. Werewolf kicks a rock, or Raiden kicks a rock at the painting. Shin's in the office. He sets something in the drawer.
It was his book.
Okay.
I went back. Yeah, I went back and I still framed it to see. Because the only two things that you can make out in that drawer is like a little cat toy of a pig head and his book.
Yep.
So he knows he's not coming back for that.
Yeah.
So he's leaving it for whoever's next.
Yeah.
So the rain starts to stop. They're sitting in the mess hall, eating pretty much their final meal, reminding of everybody, no matter what, we'll call them. Even if we're the last one, we'll fight until the last day.
I'm not gonna lie, I teared up like crazy in this scene because
It shows
see
everybody.
just how many people they've lost, and they're the last 5.
And I think with the way this was worded, and all 5 of us survived. So this has been pretty much the nitpick group, the strongest of the strong, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
And they've known this for a while that if anything does come down, they would probably be the final ones when it comes down to it. It's like and then they bring up the Major never did call her back. What, you miss her? Not at all. I guess it kind of does bug me though. After all the time we've spent together, she could have said goodbye.
Again, the balance of emotional turmoil and levity that they bring out for this series, it's perfect. Because that this is one of the most heart-wrenching things that you're probably going to experience or see. But at the same time, they're just like, it's kind of BS that the Major never called back. They could at least say goodbye.
And then we're walking outside. She's like, oh, the trick worked. And then they walk past the dog. Raiden says, oh, you got clean too.
I know. I
Yeah,
love
oh,
Fido.
Fido.
he was so happy.
It's like I'm happy for, and then when Shin says I'm happy for you, his react, his little claws like wee.
Yeah,
Little
Theo.
dance.
Everybody was just like, he's so clean and shiny, and he's dancing around. And Theo was just like, he was filthy, and he's like, "Mer."
He definitely, like, he does remind you of, like, Dummy from, like, Iron Man.
Iron Man. Yep. And then the cute little exchange between Fido and the cat.
Yeah, where he just waves goodbye. And the thing is, if Fido had an AI, like an actual brain and well, it probably does by the way it reacts and everything, but
Yeah.
like where it could actually be vocalized. I'm thinking he's very close to Ghost in the Shell. The crap, what are they called? The blue units they use that can turn invisible.
Oh,
I know it
crap,
starts
it's
with a
been
T,
forever since I've watched it.
but you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Okay, so my connection with
Mhm.
Fido here is more along the lines of the dog from Up.
I never watched Up, so I can't really say.
Wasn't it
Oh
the,
my god, I
I
love
might
the
be
dog.
saying this wrong. The Tachikoma?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Its expressions and the way it reacts, and definitely when it's waving to the cat, it reminds me so much of the Major's Tamagotchi.
Tachikoma.
Tamagotchi. Tachikoma.
Tamagotchi.
Tachikoma. That's what it is.
Tamagotchi.
Tachikoma.
Giant.
Because the Major's
I mean,
Tachikoma had like a very hyperactive AI part of.
I mean, to be fair, Fido is kind of like a dog, and in the
Yeah.
Tamagotchi is a pet. So, I mean, there you
She's
go.
not wrong.
See,
Yeah.
I had a Tamagotchi. The only thing that thing ever wanted to do was eat and poop.
So it's your kid is pretty much what you're
Yeah,
saying.
it's pretty much my 5-year-old.
we have children, and that's life with children. Eat and poop and eat,
So
never sleep.
as they get to their units, they see the snacks that are in their cockpits.
This part was cute.
You see everyone at the fountain or whatever, the little pillar wherever they're sitting at, they're waving. Then it goes back to Shin and the gang. He's like, he treated us like kids until the end.
Yeah. And I never realized just how many like non-combatant personnel members there really were running that base.
Well, they were mainly mechanics more than likely because they did all the
I guess so.
because the gang cooked all their meals.
Yeah. They took turns with the cleaning, they took turns with the cooking.
And you got to think it was originally 30 combatants, 32 in the unit, or not maybe that much, but I can't remember the numbers exactly at the moment. To maintain all those units, possibly, but to maintain all those units and then in turnover so as quickly as they could, that's kind of small for what they have to keep up with for maintenance wise.
Yeah. Just a side note, this is the first time I've really gotten a clear image of Werewolf's insignia.
This is the first time.
I want that as a tattoo. That is BA.
I agree. And as they're getting in their cockpits, they're standing up. It's like Shin makes I think it was Shin. It's like, hope nobody forgot anything. And there goes, nope. Then he's like, let's go. And that's where you're calling.
Yeah.
So it kind of was both, mix of both.
Yeah, it was. And again, the fact that this show has done such a great job with taking these title cards and making them fit in multiple aspects.
Mm-hmm.
We had this discussion back with I'm With You.
Yeah. And then as it's closing out, it's transitioning throughout the base. And then it's at the window. And you see little puppets, or not puppets,
little window figure.
Yeah.
Little window figure ghosts, actually. Like
they were ghosts.
Little spirits.
Then it goes over to the chalkboard. And the way they transitioned it is pretty much how they did in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
But now it's blank.
Yeah, everything's been wiped down. Everything's been reset, ready for the next spearhead.
Yep. And this after credit scene
Oh my god.
The other section that Leary and I have been waiting for.
And
that's
I'm glad it kind of clears up the flashback that Shin had.
Yeah.
But yeah, sitting on that for weeks on end was like torture for me. Like,
well, and I kind of let it slip, back when we first saw the flashback of him being choked, when we first got the full scar reveal in the mirror. I let a little bit of it slip back then, but yeah, basically, yeah, what we get in this scene is a voiceover by Shin's brother, and you can hear the roboticized tone to it, but he's processing his final memory basically, and this is him thinking about, I failed to protect my brother, but he was just like, then he starts thinking back to the day that he got his draft letter, and Shin, who's again a sweet, innocent little boy, is standing there going, "Brother, where's mom? I don't hear her. Are mom and dad not coming back? Brother, why did mom why did mom die?" And his brother completely lips,
Ooh.
grabs him by the neck, slams him to the floor, and is choking the very life out of him, screaming at him, "Mom and dad aren't coming back. It's your effing fault. You're the one that sent them to die. Now you're sending me to die."
Because it goes in family order. So it goes the oldest member of the family, and then when they die, the next person.
Yep.
Hmm.
And we also see where the Doulahan icon comes from. Pretty much,
Yeah.
it's the storybook that Shin, by the looks of it, it was his favorite book when he was younger. And it pops over to now, as all this is going on. Now you get the view of Shin's brother in the shepherd. Then it sees them in the distance. You see it on the map because you don't really see them clearly at first until they start zooming in. But on the
Hmm.
little map,
But you get the telemetry. You get
yeah,
the telemetry. You
you
get the
see
radar.
Juggernaut 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then it zooms in and cuts, and it says goodbye.
Yeah. It ends with his brother saying, "I'll protect you. I'll protect you forever. Now that I don't have my feeble human body, now
Mhm.
that I have this body of steel and metal, I can protect you like I should have all those years ago."
So with this, I have a really feeling that the next episode is probably because you notice that it always ends either from Shin's perspective in the gangs or Lena's perspective. It
Hmm.
ended from a third perspective
Yeah.
this time. So we're probably going to get Shin's brother's perspective in the next episode. And then probably into a fight.
Oh, mm, oh.
That's interesting.
Because that's what I was thinking. It's like, because they've always broken it off either from the gang's perspective or Lena. So it kind of, and that's where it kind of leads me to that this one's going to be a little, this episode, next coming episode's going to be a little different than what we've had.
Yeah. I'm part of what we originally estimated that, or from what our information told us, this was going to be an 11 episode series. I'm almost wondering if episode 9 is going to be almost a like full blown backstory episode.
I will say that okay, so the light novel, the first one, is a 11. Let me double check. The first book is 11 chapters with an epilogue, and this a thing called Activate, which was like another mini epilogue. And so pretty much we just covered most of chapter 9. And so chapter 11 is basically the final, like we're at the end of the light novel based off of where we're at in the show as well.
And kind of because the site I watch on is on the top right, it says related anime 86 second season preview.
Yeah. Now, also, given that information, I dug into second season as well, and they're not classifying it as a season 2. They're classifying it as a second core, which is basically kind of what they did with stuff like Food Wars,
Yep.
where it doesn't go into like a whole other story arc necessarily, even though it kind of does.
Yeah.
It
Or
kind
like,
of picks up where it left off and transitions throughout that first part into the next story arc.
yeah.
So I honestly kind of think that like maybe the next episode 9 will be kind of one of those, we get the loose ends tied up for backstory stuff.
Agree. Yeah.
Episode 10 will be the major confrontations and battles, and episode 11 will be like what we see at the end of the battle in the epilogue from the light novel, going into where things go from here.
We're probably not going to get with what the way this ends, obviously, and what you're saying. I have a real feeling that we're not going to see anything of Lena until probably episode 10, maybe not even till 11.
Pretty much almost the entire end of the book didn't really have her as much. Like it very much focused on the game.
Yeah, it's like it's kind of glad that they have a focus on definitely with what's going on right now.
Yeah.
But I'm also wondering on what's happening on Lena's side after, because obviously she was crying after what Shin had said, and then how is she gonna go east like he told her to? Because she doesn't have a vehicle of her own.
She'll be resourceful. It'll be a surprise. She's been resourceful before.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
She will be resourceful again.
This is a very, very strong-willed, cunning girl, and she is finally broken and at the point where she just doesn't give an F anymore
Agree.
about anyone or anything but the 86 and the equality for the 86.
Yeah.
I will definitely be reading the novel after I watch. I mean, I've already read it, but I'm gonna reread it so I can do comparisons and that stuff.
I think we're at an end here for today.
Yes.
So, as always, I am Rainwolf.
I'm Kira Silverheart.
I'm Asana Silverheart.
And this is Lyria.
Leave a like, comment, and maybe even subscribe. And until next time.
Bye.
Bye.